There we go, there we go, there we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Logistical Nightmare Racing TvT Tuesday night special. Again, took a week break because as we all know, last week was the time for love. This week is the time for racing. And of course, it's a bit different to what we have seen throughout the season thus far. I think the last time I've actually looked at a qualifying session was at the beginning of the session season. We had something in round one. This evening, though, we are back at Zandvoort, a very old, familiar Dutch track. And I'll be honest, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the corner names, as we see a Honda in the background immediately losing traction just before he wants to kick off his qualifying session. Currently looking at a beautiful pink Honda driven by Meyer, starting on his hot lap session. So this is going to be quite entertaining from our perspective. These boys have got 10 minutes to do a qualifying time on Zandvoort. Now, of course, we've only got like 15 cars on the grid, but keep in mind, in total, we are running about 30 drivers. Again, team versus team scenarios. We've got pending driver swaps that's going to happen. Again, individuals do not necessarily have to do that because we open it up for the playing field. See if you can run a whole session without pitting. There's so many advantages that can occur. So let's see how this develops throughout the evening. And as I said, still looking at the Honda doing his hot lap, driven by Meyer. He is teamed up with his counter driver, which is Fleming Bauer. Been in the hot seat quite a bit, so I'm expecting some good times from him. Looking a bit up the grid, Robson there and his McLaren, teamed up with Lee Bullion. Again, there is a sister McLaren down the line here, driven by Andries de Prier and of course Neil Bullion. Went with a different livery scheme this time. Now this is one of the old LNR skins that is being used. Again, still the beautiful flaming black and orange. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But let's see what these guys do post on the time. Meyer has set the target line already there at a 35.4. and that is a second quicker than what V Null could do in car number 8 with the BMW. In all honesty, I don't believe the BMW will be that great on this track. I'm kind of expecting the mid-end rear. Let's try that again. The rear-end type cars to outperform the BMWs. Although I think, in all fairness, as the BMW is a very easy car to drive, I can probably anticipate that they will do very well. But as we said, it might take some time for these boys to get their tire temperatures on point. Track degrees at this moment is like just reaching the 10 degrees, which is phenomenally cold. Looking at Alan Patterson running with a Martini type livery there, proudly representing the PWSR with his fellow teammate Chris Dos Santos. So looking good for these gentlemen. And while we go through the qualifying session, let's just remind everyone in the last 5 minutes, where do we stand with the points at the present stage. So for 3 rounds that has occurred thus far, we've got Team Bliksem and his wall leading the pack at this stage, only by about 20 points in margin, closely followed by the PWSR boys, which we are looking at the moment. Then of course we've got Pap and Boers, ERA Specials, the LNR Bull and Jazz, and then LNR Cheese and Wine in 7th place. The Chasing Beavers, MC Racing, LNR Academy, and then closing off in the 10th spot, Impact Simracing. So as you can see, the top two are in heavy contention with one another, whereas the remaining of the grid in the championship is still going to battle it out. Of course, we still have a few more races to go for this fantastic season. I think by records and belief, we still got Kota, which will be round 5, and then of course we're going to close off with Barcelona. Now, I don't think Barcelona is a fan favorite, neither do I believe that Kota is. So these 3 races is going to be one of those teething races on tracks that some races just do not enjoy. But you gotta do them all, don't we? At some other point you gotta race those tracks that you just don't like and try and do the best you can. Well, let's see if I can filter more down the grid. Paul Venter we have spoken about, he's still there in 9th position. Just doesn't seem like he's getting the pace down at all. Alan Patterson has increased his position at the moment. He's currently in 2nd. Can Paul do a lot better? Yes, definitely improves it. Vastly improvement from him. So good run down the line in general. Another individual on the move at the present moment is Gerard Janssen van Vieren with the only Nissan on track. Pink, black and grey all over. He's up by about a second in time. Now, it's not going to improve him that significantly, but it does look like he's getting the hang of it. And in all fairness, I think the Nissan will be very hard to manage good speed and pace around this track. Let's see how he progresses along. Vinal, on the other hand, who was in the top 5, subsequently has dropped down a few positions. Is currently up by about half a tenth in the final sector. Now this is where it gets tricky. You've got to get your braking markers on point, ensure that you do not run too much on that curve, use as much of that exit curve, and then create and maintain that momentum for this final curve. This is where speed is of high importance, and by the looks of it, based on his delta, doesn't look like he's lost any pace there. That's going to put him at least about a half a second up the grid. Yes, places him in 3rd position at the moment. So fabulous lap by this man. BMW is in the mix though, however they are all in close contention. We got Loreno going into the pits, Patterson still doing the best he can to try and gain more speed. Again, it's just about half a second that he needs to capitalize to get into that top 3 position and secure his place. Other than that, Herzog in the Honda, he is gaining a bit more momentum as well, up by nearly a second at the present stage. Of course, this is going to bump him up a bit. Definitely a good position for him in 14th place. He's got Robson in 15th. Barrington Smith, who hasn't seemed like he's done any laps at this moment, so this is his only opportunity to do a lap time. Hasn't put down anything solidly far from any stance, so this might just be his only chance. That's if he can make it through the final sectors. Can he still do another lap, or will this be his final chance? 10 seconds to go, so he got one more lap and that's it. Puts him in top 6. Other individuals are back in the pit. Mayer, on the other hand, he is still got this final opportunity to create a bigger gap. Not 100% sure whether that is very wise, because everyone in position 2, 3, 4 and 5 has gone and sat down. So the only individual that could challenge him for positions could be Scutter, but he's just gone through the checkered flag as well, pushing it into 6th place. And then, of course, Barrington Smith has a big slide there. Now, that's definitely going to compromise any time that he has gained through Sector 1. Certainly not going to be the individual putting it on pole today. Mayer, on the other hand, is up by 2/10. He is showboating this evening, indicating to everyone how fantastic a pink Porsche can go along. Went a bit wide there. Did that compromise his time? A tiny bit. He will definitely improve his time, but not by the margins that he had prior to entering the final sector. Barrington Smith, as I said, made a big slide bump. Now he's got to work very hard to gain advantage, and it doesn't seem like he is any near close to being in the top 5. So this is going to round off the qualifying session. What a start. What a start. And I'm going to see if I can get into the mix here. There we go. So this is all manual control at the present moment. Get a bit up. So in first place we have H. Mayer in car 99 with the Honda, followed by Paul Venter in 777, also Honda. Leading the pack in third position is the BMW by number 8 V. Null, followed by R. Duprier in car 129 in the McLaren. And of course Alan Patterson in car 101 in fifth place, followed closely by Loureiro in car 23, BMW to BMW. Split down the pack, we have an Aston Martin driven by Sean Skitter. Then we have Ryan Barrington Smith in the Porsche, followed by M. Gamble in ninth place with their Aston Martin. Of course, a chic BMW there, driven by Van Sale. I hope they have a good race this week. And of course, we have R. Du Plessis there in his BMW in car 17. Gerard Janssen van Vieren in the Nissan. Gary van der Haar in 13th place with car 122. 14th, we have C. Mooney in car number 4, followed by Herzeg in car 198, also beautiful Honda. And then last but not least, W. Robson in car 505 with the McLaren. That's the grid for the evening. These guys have got about 30 seconds to go before we do a outlap prior to the race. And of course, our race session will be a 1 hour 15 minute race. Now this gives me a bit of a chance to go back onto the stream on the YouTube channel. Just say and shout out to everyone that is on there. So I've got LNR Mental Panda Gaming, Wakam, Hannes van der Sand, who indicates that he is missing the sim racing. So Hannes, hope to see you soon at some other point. And then Hansi Mayberg going lekker. Not a large audience this evening, but hey, nonetheless, it's Tuesday night. Sim racing at Logistical Nightmare. Team versus team. Round 4 on the famous and legacy track, Zandvoort, which I reckon is going to be epic and eventful. As you can see from the grid positions at the present moment, the Honda boys are dominating the track in 1 and 2, followed by a BMW and then a McLaren in the mix there, driven by A. Duprier. So quite a good mix of cars. Don't see the normal Lamborghini that we had a couple of weeks ago. Hope nothing has gone severely wrong with them, because I do remember having a Lambo here. And I think there was more than one Porsche on the track though, but we're back on one Porsche, good Astons, one Nissan, Hondas. Interesting mix, no Mercs. And as I talk about it, penalties being dished out left, right, middle and center. Now that could potentially be based on all the incident reports that was dealt with on the previous race. Paul Venter sitting with a 5-second penalty, Ryan Barrington-Smith sitting with a 5-second penalty, Gerrit-Jan van Vieren also a 5-second penalty, C. Mooney 5-second penalty, and T. Hertzeg 5-second penalty. Now, I don't think 5 seconds is that catastrophic on this track itself, because again, it is very hard to maintain a good balance and momentum the whole time, ensuring that you can run it lap by lap as consistently as you can. So at 5 seconds can be gained or lost probably in about 1 or 2 laps, depending on where you have gone wrong or how severe you have slided your car. So the track is fast, so I'm not seeing optimal times that's going to be generated by these gentlemen. It's going to be exceptionally slippery up until the point it really gets to the optimal position. Paul Venter, they're going very side by side. Aggressiveness is by Meyer, so he looks very racy. Track temperature is 10 degrees as they come around the final corner, getting ready for the start finish line or the race start position. You can see all the grid lineups there at the back. Oh, this looks just absolutely beautiful. Tense, drama, anticipation, waiting for the green light.
Green light.
And we're off. Now let's see if there is a magnitude of chaos coming around the first bend again. It is very possible to go 2 to 3 wide. That BMW, ooh, bit of a glitch. That looked quite interesting for a moment. Meyer, on the other hand, gets a clean start. Now Paul is a bit under pressure there by the BMW by Nel. Nel capitalizes the position. Paul decided to yield a bit, didn't want to cause any catastrophic backlash there. So I reckon this was a good start. Ryan Barrington-Smith went a bit off the curve, so a slight collision there by him. Do hope we have captured that, but Barrington-Smith has lost a lot of position. He is completely at the back of the pack. Meyer, on the other hand, had a fantastic clean start. He is building the gap from the individuals behind him. That still puts Nel under severe pressure, who snuck in there at the race start, took the inside line to Paul. Now, of course, Paul at the start of the race had the outer line on corner 1, therefore compromised the speed entering into the rest of the track. But then the BMW seemingly has capitalized from it. Dupree, on the other hand, has also lost the position. So mid-rear engine boys, Paul Venter and Dupree dropped 1 position down, and the BMWs capitalized on that. As we see Alan Patterson going very wide around that corner. That's probably going to give him a good marginal warning there. At the back of the pack, a bit of action there. That's Duplessis and Mooney. Sorry, it looks like Gary van der Haar. Yeah, is that Duplessis and Mooney? Yes. Boys fighting it out there, trying to gain positions. Now, of course, individuals has already gone into the pits. Van Zyl in the pits. Barrington-Smith in the pits. Lee Bullion went into the pits. Boys instinctively went, that's quick. And they've got to do 3 pit stops. How did I not see that? Typical. The admin people of Logistical Nightmare just do not make it easy for anyone. A 1 hour 15-minute race with 3 pit stops. Unbelievable. As the battle continues here in front, Paul takes a good inside line, gets a better run out between himself and Nel. Nel has to yield that position, but now he's under severe pressure there by Alan Patterson, who snuck up on his rear end there. This is where pressure counts. Is Patterson close enough to gain more speed and momentum to make a move down the straight? Doesn't seem like it at this moment. Paul has managed to break away from the BMW. That kind of indicates to me that those tires are now nice and warm and snuggly, so he's got more grip, therefore he will take more risk into the corners, carrying more speed, and then hopefully be in a position to break away from the BMWs and gonna go and chase down Meyer. Now, as we've noted, Van Zyl's been in the pits, so he's one pit stop down. Barrington Smith's been in the pits, he's one pit stop down, and so is car 505, currently in 15th position. They've been in the pits, one down. Paul Venter makes a big mistake again. That brings the BMW back onto his rear end again. And he was pulling away so nicely. Nonetheless, there's battles all over the show. Look at this, where we're sitting with Dupree, car 129, driving for Team LNR Steady State. He's got Sean Skitter on his rear end with the Aston Martin. And of course, Laredo there with that. Oh, is that a beautiful bulldog face on the back of that BMW? I need to go check that out. Gamble. Give me Gamble. Let me see if I can get a driver. No, interior. And a bit of a... Can't really see it. I'm gonna go and have to have a look. I'm certain that I saw a bulldog face on the back of that BMW. That looked bloody hell, bloody awesome. Look at me sweating on street. I'm so sorry. Brandon. Hey, Brandon. Looking good. Welcome. So where are we? Just 6 minutes into the race. Track is still fast at the moment. Don't see any subtle changes in the degrees at this stage. Perhaps not even a hint of rain. There is a bit of cloud cover in general. Just cannot see whether that will do anything as such. Again, more individuals went into the pit stop. Again, as we see, Alan Patterson is now in 11th position. I think that was more of a strategic move, but that strategic move has just killed him because he has either entered too fast, which has given him a stop-go 30-second penalty, and that is too much speed in the pit lane. I do wonder whether the stewarding team will have a look at that and potentially provide him with a drive-through penalty as opposed to a stop-go penalty. But again, that's depending on what the seasonal rules and regulations are. C. Mooney now was on a battle with Gary van der Haar not so long ago. He now has a Nissan on his rear end. Got the car for good pace as Gerard dives into the pits. Let's just see if he slows his car down quite nicely. It does look like it. No real incidents there. Front of the kit on the other hand. They have lost 4 seconds thus far in 4 laps. That just means that Meyer is lapping 1 second quicker than any individual on the track at this moment. That is just phenomenal pace by that man, driving in the pink Honda, leading the pack and dominating. He is catching up on Ryan Beddington-Smith. Now, of course, Ryan Beddington did make a pit stop, so he has that pit stop advantage. Nonetheless, more battles here. Dupree versus Skitter, car 129 versus 333. Aston Martin and McLaren. In all fairness, I would not know which one of these are the better car for the track. I would believe that the McLaren has got good pace in general, but I would assume that it is very slow exiting the corner, which will then allow the Aston to be marginally quicker from a exit point of view. Again, depending on driver skill and tactics. This is a very close battle. Ooh, as contact is made there by the two individuals. Now, of course, under Dupree, car 129 did go a bit too wide into that corner, opening the door for Skitter, who thought it would have been a potential good idea just to take that gap. Let's just see if I can go back and review that from a perspective. So looking at from this point over the helicam as they enter into the corner. Now you can see Dupree going very wide. The Aston Martin sees the opportunity and takes it, though couldn't do much about it in trying to avoid the collision because the McLaren suddenly changed direction for the exit of the corner. So I reckon that could be seen as a racing incident is what I would call it, but nonetheless Aston Martin is now clear, opening up the gap. The incident wasn't that severe, but has now put the BMW on the rear end of that McLaren. Whether the damage will cause him to be a bit slower, that's still to be determined. Based on lap times, they both have lost a bit on that lap, and that is fairly understandable. Mooney in the pits now made a slight incident, but not too much to lose too big of a gap between himself and Paul Venter. Lots of individuals have jumped into the pits so early in the race. Now, strategically, this is going to mix everything up for me, because it will be hard just for me to calculate who is in the lead, who's not in the lead, where do they stand, where are they going to end up. What I can say for certain is that the top 8 individuals has not pitted at all, and we shall see how this develops further. To see who we have. And then the Bulldog car does have a... it does! That's actually quite awesome. I seriously love that. Thanks, Brandon, for validating and confirming that. I gotta go find it again, because I reckon it... there we go, the Bulldog face. That is superb. What a place to put that. That just sits so well with the team name LT Racing Bulldog Academy. Love it, love it. Again, so big ups to these boys that created their livery for them. Love the creation. It's like they somehow just managed to filter that in, and if you look on the arches of the wheel, you can actually see the ear of the dog there at the back end point, just to give it that additional character to the livery. Phenomenal to those boys. What a livery. I reckon out of everyone, this is my absolute favorite this evening. Winner by far. Creativity. Unreal. Let's see if Laredo and Vancel this evening can have a bit of luck. I know during the course of the season, it's Mouton that's driving with Laredo. I somehow always anticipated Vancel driving with him. Nonetheless, let's hope these boys get a good result this evening, because they definitely do deserve it. They've had some bad lucks throughout the season. Time for them to put their heads down, focus, and then get the results they require and walk away with a high and mighty smile. So, back is a bit spread out at the moment, and I'll try and give everyone just an idea of where we stand. Now, of course, having about 15 cars on track will create this over time. However, we also have all the phenomenal twists and that the administration team has brought up. I honestly did not read that these boys will have to do 3 pit stops in a 1 hour 15-minute race, so that is certainly going to change it up. Now I probably need to go and have a look and see what the need is for this from a race event configuration. 3 pit stops definitely there. There is no real requirements for the pit count. So as long as they do 3 pit stops, and of course they can do no fueling, and they have the options to not change their tires, so it's just a stop and drop for 3 of them. Necessarily they don't really have to change their team drivers because there's no mandatory driver swap. So I reckon just to be sneaky, I do want to figure out if we have both drivers of the team on the race, would they need to do a driver stop? Because ideally you can do the whole race without a driver swap. I don't believe you can do it without actually putting fuel in, and maybe your tire wear will deter throughout the race. But now with a track temperature of about 10 degrees, I reckon you can most likely outlast your tires for the whole race. I do believe that is even possible. Fleming, he's the man with all the information. So yes, they must. The ones who don't got the 5-second penalty at the start have to do a tire change. That's quite interesting, Bauer. So many weird rules. How do you keep up with all these rules? I think I need to go and just listen to the race driver's briefing just to get an understanding of what madness these boys have got planned for every race. This is like crazy. How do you keep up with it? Whoosh. Ricky, this is my overview and observations of it. Okay, so let's go a bit to the back of the grid. Gary van der Haar, who has pitted. Now, of course, he is sitting comfortably there in 10th place. He has got Van Zyl ahead of him, driving for Chic SA Racing. Again, that's also a beautiful livery. That's really one hell of a livery, that. From a pit standpoint, Gamble seems to be the team at the moment that is leading everyone behind him from a pit stop point of view, because Campbell's done a pit stop, he is in 8th. Van Zyl's done a pit stop, he's in 9th. And of course, Van der Haar in car 122 has done a pit stop, he is in 10th. And then Alan Patterson, who has also done a pit stop but also settled for a stop go 30-second penalty, is in 11th. So I would not count the PWSR boys out yet. I think plenty of things can change. I know from a racing point of view they've got enough pace to try and gain on the individuals in front of them. That might be tough, but I reckon it is very, very possible. Bria, on the other hand, he is getting more and more pressure from Loureiro in car 23, running with the Bulldog livery. So this battle is slowly getting closer to one another, which will make it quite interesting as it evolves and develops. Kayla and Mawa popping up, hashtagging "We Are Race." thanks for popping in, man. And Hannes on the other hand, missing his sim racing. Again, Hannes, no offense, get into your rig. It is time. It is time. And if not, then I don't know. Just get in. Get in. You will not be disappointed. You might be disappointed in your speed and your pace, but you know what? Once you've driven a bicycle, you will always be able to drive a bicycle. It will get back at you. Okay, so that battle continues. Alan Patterson is slowly gaining on Gary van der Haar. So like I said, I do believe the pace is with Patterson to catch up the individuals ahead of him. Bennington Smith, who had the incident in the start of the race, he has got a lot of work to do. Looks like he is 2 laps down, so I don't know how that has occurred, but Bennington Smith with his teammate driving for Pop and Vos really has a lot of work for them at this stage. And again, the second driver will be Jacques Vermeulen. I do believe this is going to be a very tough and challenging race in general for that team. Gary van der Haar, just looking at the delta, Patterson creeped up more closer, and again, depending on how this goes based on the exit of this final corner, I reckon if Patterson's close enough, he is going to stick it in the inside line and capitalize on it. Maybe not yet, but it is slowly getting there. Could be the next lap. It's just getting so close. Listen to the V8 engine of the Aston. BMW chasing him down. Ooh, plenty of patience there by Patterson. That is good driving technique, making sure you don't get too quick on the throttle. Oh, fabulous apex there. You can see Gary squiggling around, uncertain of what to do. He goes in too wide out the final corner, opens the door up for Patterson. Patterson takes the inside line and capitalizes on the position. Slight error there by Gary, whether that was intentional or not. He definitely went in too deep, therefore opening up the door for Patterson to gain a position. So that is one down the hatchet for that individual. Front of the grid, however, we now have Mr. Nell for Chasing Beaver. He has got a bit of a pressure on his rear end with Sean Scutter there, who has closed that gap down to less than a second. I don't think this is going to be a very easy pass, because both these drivers are of top caliber driving etiquette. So I reckon this is going to be one of two things, where they will either continuously follow each other. I see a massive spike there by now, uncertain of how that has occurred. Oh, now just thoughts of it, went into the pit. That opens the door up for Scutter. Dupree on the other hand, oh, big mistake by him. I wonder what has happened. He has gone completely off the track there. Certainly lost quite a bit of incidents. So let's just see. Ooh, I probably didn't catch it up. He did lose it on the exit of that corner. tried to recover it and then smashed his rear end into the barriers there. So, I'm certain that is not what he had planned. How much damage that is to him based on aero and speed, that is to be determined. Patterson back in the pits again. This would be his second pit stop. He is making quick in and out jumps to get all those pit stops done and dusted. Top 6 still has not made a dive for any of the pit stop. Mayer, on the other hand, he still has a very comfortable 5-second gap between himself and Paul Venter, who has a marginal 10-second gap between himself and Skutter. Now, of course, Van Zyl Agnel was in the mix, but he has made a pit stop, so that brings his pit stop counter down to 2. The current race leader, based on pit stops finished, is where I'm sitting at. Again, the top 6 boys still got to do what they need to do. So I reckon if all goes well, Mayer, Paul will potentially filter out in front. Skitter might jump. No, but again, that's depending on how these boys do lap times and how consistent they can keep their pace up. Again, all about consistency when you have this amount of pit stops for a race. It's quite a lot. Brandon going on the stream, PWSR also have awesome liveries. You know what, Brandon, I honestly cannot argue that otherwise. I reckon, like, just having a martini livery with that background black fade into it is phenomenal. It just looks gorgeous. It's really hard to pick a fan favorite. On all these liveries, all of them are beautifully made by talented individuals. That is phenomenally unique from. Is it the Martini or is it the BMW? I might be confusing both of them at this moment. I know the Martini has got the red and blue and white. This might just be the M3 color, is what they would say. The traditional BMW colors, right? I keep calling it the Martini ones, but someone's gonna slap me on the stream and go like, yeah, I'm a silly idiot. Those are the BMW stripe colors, as opposed to the Martini colors. Yes, that is. See, my old age is giving up with me at this moment. Nonetheless, still beautiful. So where are we? Where are we? Great liveries, awesome ones by everyone. Let's just see who I can get, who I haven't featured yet. Gamble, I have done. He's with the Golf Aston Martin livery there. Mooney in his Honda. Lee Bullion here in 15th position with the yellow fellow McLaren there. Racing point of view, it's not as exciting as what I would have expected. We need more cars. We need more cars. Although we have 15 cars, 30 drivers, which is exceptionally a lot if you calculate the 2 and 2 together. So, just reckon we can get more. Now that this moment is ahead of Skutter. So, my theory of Skutter jumping now through the pit stops was completely wrong. That undercut has done some marginal advantages to now. Now, why would that be? If you look at the pit stop in count in general, Skutter did pit for about 3 seconds longer than Null. So that does make a bit sense. Gamble back into the pits. Ooh. Null pushing Mooney very wide. That's going to put him a bit on some dirty track tires. Not going to be a happy chappy about that. Again, a very good place to try and allow the front runners to go past you and avoid the whole blue flag scenario. But I think there would have been probably better locations to do so. But again, big ups to Mooney for being the gentleman, getting the car out of the place and not creating much frustrations to Nell, who is trying to chase down, I would guess, Paul Fenter at this moment from a position point of view. So pit stops based on time at this moment. The longest pit stop at the stage was Lee Bullion with about a 1 minute 4 minutes in total, which is quite long. Beddington Smith for 51 seconds. All the other individuals have done short, quick pit stops everywhere here and there. Mooney on the other hand, on track. Spinning the car around, and he's going to have a quick car coming on his rear end quite soon. Ooh, gets out of the way though. Greatly compensated there by Lee Bullion. Just making sure he does not cause any problems. Let me just see if I can pick up what has happened there. Going back to me. Yo, just stepped out of him a bit. Into the barriers. Now that's gonna be some awful front end damage for him. He definitely needs to go and get that fixed. Great spin around though. Great recovery. But he's gonna spend quite a bit of time in the pit stops getting that fixed and sorted. Moving ahead to the front of the grid. Now has gained a 4-second gap between himself and Skitter. So I reckon his track tire pressure temperature seems to be quite on point, that he can create that gap. So Skitter's not going to allow him to be that far for quite some time. We'll see how that evolves during the course of the race. Loreno still looking comfortable there, chasing down Skitter in the Aston Martin. Mooney has finished all his pit stops. Patterson still in 11th. Beddington still in 12th. Gerard Janssen from Vieren here still got one more pit stop to go with the Nissan. Ooh. And that was a precautionary move by him. Of course, he's got Mooney ahead of him, which is at this stage a blue flag car. Just looks like that Nissan is on a Sunday type. Let's go in the driver position. Just sit and listen to what a Nissan sounds like, which I haven't done in a while. That's such a beautiful turbo sound that I really wish we could have a second revision of a Nissan on as a GT3 car. Just as much as we would love and wait for the Corvette, the Mustang that will hopefully be in the ACC platform. I hope next year. again, I haven't followed the rumors of what that status is, but yes, new cars is certainly needed. Wish list on my end is a Nissan, a new revision of that, because it'll just be beautiful to have something in that line there. Now, of course, we already have the BMW, we already have a latest version edition of the Ferrari, and of course, the Mercedes and the Audi. Rumor is that we will potentially get a new Porsche, which could be interesting. I think the question on that is whether it will have the legs down the straight as opposed to the current version, or will it still have that unique finesse that Porsche has always brought to the table, which is quick entry, quick exit speeds, of course a bit slow down the straight, but it makes up so much time during corners. Very sensitive during left and right turns, especially if it's sequential, but in general still a good car. So rumors is the Porsche will probably be in the mix as a new car soon. What other cars are nice that I have probably forgotten about? I think those three are the top three ones. New Porsche is that, Mustang, and then the Corvette. Definite yay for those ones. Paul Fenter in the pit. Bite the bullet. First one out of the top three that has gone into the pits at the moment. That puts Dupree in second place, but he is 47 seconds behind the race leader Mayer at the moment on lap 22. 40 minutes still left. Feels like I've talked a lot about everything else besides the racing this evening. Let's just look at what this leader does. Such a big gap for this man leading the race from the word go. Sat down a brilliant qualifying time, out qualified everyone in general by quite a bit of a margin. Untouchable at the start of the race, and then just created and maintained the gap that he set out there. Still a lot can happen because he still needs to go into the pits 3 more times, as opposed to everyone else behind him, or excluding Dupree. Null, on the other hand, has managed to keep the gap between himself and Skitter by about 4 seconds, so that gap hasn't gotten any closer than what I anticipated. Now there's a bit of a few back markers in between. Ooh, as Karel van Vieren makes a big mistake there. Now he is certainly going to pull off the track, allow the race leaders to do what they need to do, and then filter in right behind them. Again, good driving standards by these boys this evening. I gotta admit, it's been very clean. For some other weird reason, I kind of feel like Kyalami, Midrand Kyalami 570, which was a phenomenal race this weekend, occurred on Saturday night. Those individuals that haven't had a moment to go look at the stream or look what has occurred, again, that is 570 minutes of adrenaline rush racing occurred on Saturday, brought to you by a community effort, Logistical Nightmare Racing and Race Face, commentated by the Box stream team, sponsored by Flick Floyd, Go Setups, and I cannot remember who else. But again, if you have time and you've got nothing more to do, feel free to go search for that on the YouTube channels and take a good look at the 9-hour race that has occurred. Back in the front, a bit of a, I'd say, race on our hands at this moment. Gamble with one pit stop to go. He is being chased down by Patterson again. So Patterson back in the mix again. He seems to be the guy that's been passing everyone this evening. Now, of course, he's got a lot of work for himself to do, because at his first pit stop interval, I reckon he was too quick on pit entry, got a stop-go 30-second penalty, which he has served, but since then has been fighting to gain all the positions he has lost back. As he heads back into the pit again, that will be the final pit stop there for Patterson. Paul Venter has done all 3 pit stops in quick successions. Now that opens the door for him, still the only driver to drive, and based on the wonderful information that Brandon has supplied, indicating that drivers that doesn't have a teammate to do a swap for gets a 5-second penalty, and also has to do a mandatory tire change pit stop. So that does make it interesting for those that have a teammate that will do a pit swap change. So it brings everything into equal platforms. So Paul seems to be the man that's going to race the whole race by himself. Dino popping into the chat, the PSWR boys thanking Brandon for his amazing commentary of how great the livery looks like at PWSR, and then Dino going, let's go boys. Fabulous support. Where do we sit? Schnur has lost a position there against Barrington Smith. So Barrington slowly climbing the ladder based on positions. He's still got a lot of work to do. Again, one more pit stop to go. Skitter in the box, finishing off one more stop for him. So De Santos now the man taking over from Alan Patterson. He has got 33 minutes of racing to take him all the way to race closure. There's a big gap between himself and Paul Venter. So Paul Venter coming down the start-finish line. Chris De Santos on the other hand, he is on the final corners of the race. Now the gap's probably not that significant. Let's just see if we can get a map delta. So car number 777 heading into the lower end corner of sector 1, going up, start finish line. Oh, that's quite a bit. Probably a good 30-second gap in between those individuals. Of course, we do have an McLaren on the rear end of De Santos. That is not for position. That is Robson. They're sitting in 15th place. Might frustrate him a bit, because this could be a potential scenario whereby Robson believes he is the quicker man in between the two, and the probability is there, because I suspect that Dos Santos will have very cold tires, and up until the point that he gets comfortable with his car and the tire pressure, he might be a bit slower than what that McLaren is. In the front of the grid, we've got Schnur and of course Dave Young. BMW and Aston Martin battling it out. Does that Aston Martin got the legs to make a run? Not at the present moment, too short. You can see Schnur is under severe pressures, making mistake after mistake, slowing himself down, getting that Aston Martin closer and closer on his rear end. Again, a bit off track there. That's going to compromise the speed of the Aston Martin. You can see him flashing the lights out of frustration. Schnur taking the inside line, covering it off. Now we are going to see two people wide. We've got the Honda in the rear end. Dave going very wide, loses the position. But now Mooney wants to get into the mix there, and that's just going to frustrate everyone. Mooney pulls out. Why did Mooney pull out? There is another car that was there. This battle is going to continue. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Oh, that was... Who drives the other McLaren? Neil Bullion. Yes, Neil Bullion filters out just behind Dave. This is going to be a three-way battle. The question remains, can Schnur keep a cool, calm head? No, Dave takes the inside line. Great braking maneuver. Still pushes the BMW out. He will have the better run coming into the next corner. Pushes the Aston Martin far wide. This is all about straight line speed. Does Dave have enough? That doesn't really look like it. Fantastic sportsmanship and battles between these guys. Schnur looking far calmer and cooler this time around, heading into the S's. Or chicane. Let's go chicane hairpin. That's probably the better word there. I don't know how that has occurred. Dave filtering into the pits. Had enough of that. That leaves Nel Bullion chasing them down, and I think at the back of the pack there, who was that? That's Loreiro, currently in second place. He is doing phenomenally well. Still one pit stop, two pit stops for this man to do. So does Nel. He has 2. Bauer has 1. Paul Venter is in the lead, the individual that has done and completed all his pit stops. Battle on track is Schnur for MC Racing, followed by the LNR boys in the McLaren. Now this is gonna be very delightful, as the last lap from Nel Bullion was an out lap. He is in a position now whereby he can challenge for that spot, because his tires would be nice and warm and snuggly. He will probably have new tires on himself. Schnur makes a big mistake. That's going to compromise his speed coming down the start finish line. Does have McLaren have enough legs to do what it needs to do? No, he dives into the pits. These boys get me excited, and then I just have to stop talking. Okay, a battle here. We have Wilson in 4th, needs to do a pit stop. He's got Paul Venter on his rear end. Now, of course, Paul Venter has got the advantage from a pit stop position point of view, yet this is still a race. He needs to make a passing maneuver as per any race. Goes deep there. These boys go close side by side. That is very close. Great respect for each driver. Aston Martin is not going to give it up. They are going side by side into the chicane. Aston Martin yields, however, decides to not contest the position, and Paul Venter runs through. Wilson loses a position, but again gains quite a bit of an advantage to not lose too much time. There is an end goal here. Paul Venter is the leading race car at the present moment. Now, of course, he is chasing down Bauer, who is the current race leader. From a track point position, we can see that Bauer is heading into the chicane, and of course Paul Venter is here on the starting point of the second sector. So that is the gap at the present state. Does Paul, or did Paul, create or close the gap down during all the pit stops he has managed thus far? I think that's probably the bigger picture. Snoer in the pits, De Santos currently in second. Paul, on the other hand, is in the car, so he has taken over from his teammate. And in all fairness, I know this man streams, so at any given point, for any individual streaming any races, go and support them. Give a big shout out, say hi. Any likes and subscribes to any individuals that does sim racing streaming will definitely be helpful. Gotta give big ups to Mr. Hall here, providing great evidential, funny and realistic footages on his racing platform. I reckon what he does and posts it out just to check and improve on his racing skills and so forth is fundamentally and absolutely amazing. Galen going, good luck to the rest of the race, boys. Galen, thanks for your support, much appreciated. Hope to see you soon on the track at some point. Again, phenomenal drive that you have had thus far. Okay, where are we? Don in the pits, Wilson in the pits, everyone jumping in the pits for the final couple of 20 minutes or so. Have to be evident that this battle still continues. So Snoer went into the pits to do his final stops. Dave Young has done his pits to do the final stops. These three boys are the closest battle I have currently on the track, so I'm going to keep an eye out on how this develops and evolves. I am fairly certain that these boys do know that I've got my magnifying glasses on, scrutinizing the race as it goes on. That is a close drive. Let's just see. Dave Young left, looking right, flashing the lights. Haven't seen an individual that aggressive in some time. Pushing Scruton on as best as he can because he's being hunted down by a McLaren. The last thing Dave wants to do is concern himself about being defensive. All he needs to do is make the pass stick so that he can break away from the BMW, not having the McLaren giving him pressure. So this is a battle that will be evolving in the next 22 minutes. Good exit is required by Snoer. Does seem a bit more comfortable. That BMW has got enough speed and pace to get him down the grid without being compromised. Goes a bit defensive, sees that it is not needed. McLaren also looking on the inside. These guys are looking for a weak spot amongst one another, and what's gonna make it interesting is who is that BMW? Definitely not him. That Mouton? That is Mouton. So this gap is getting closer as well. This is going to be a four-way battle if this continues. 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th battling it out in the final minutes of the race. Mouton gaining speed and momentum. Well, Mouton needs to create and maintain the gap between himself and the four cars chasing him down. But I don't think that is very possible. I don't think it's possible. Snoer catching Mouton. Dave catching Snoer. Bullion catching Dave. Oh, don't go away, boys. Do not go away. Grab a cup of coffee. Get a drink. Get whatever you need. But this is definitely going to get a bit exciting as we have more battles in the front of the race. This is Anthony Wilson versus Lee Smith. Anthony making a big mistake. Ooh, taking a deep line, touching the wall, opening it up for Smith. Smith making a mistake as well. Two Aston Martins, both compromising their racing line for the long, swirly straight. Smith, on the other hand, looks like he managed to get that, and can he keep it? I'm just going to go back into the pack now. BMW versus Aston versus McLaren. Clearly, Nel Bullion is sitting there at the back, hoping that someone makes a mistake. Snoer going on the inside line. So does Dave. That compromises the whole momentum for Mouton. Mouton loses 2 positions, can potentially lose 3 positions in 3 corners. Is that even possible? Bullion going on the outside. 3 positions lost in a matter of like 2 corners just by compromising the line of what this man had to do. Unbelievable. Oh, and more action at the back. There's like action everywhere. Porsche versus Aston for 6th place. This is marginally close between these guys. Can Barrington Smith keep ahead of Lee Smith? Is it Al Smith? Who's Al Smith? Let me just get his name. Liam Smith. Liam Smith in 222, having a monstrous drive at the moment. Who is now chasing down a Porsche. Snoer, on the other hand, is defending as hard as he can. 2 cars side by side through the Schwiggly S's. This is going to get dangerous. As they make contact, killed each other. Unbelievable. Dave Young, Nel Bullion. That was daringly and quite scary. Again, Snoer getting a beautiful gap. So let's see what we see. Both of the cars entered into the hairpin. Now Snoer gets a terrible line, makes contact with Dave, gets away, but that brings Nel Bullion into the mix as they both go side by side through the S's. Dave touches the curb, unsettles the car, makes contact with Nel Bullion, puts out both LNR boys into the pit. What? How did that unfold in that manner? Unbelievable. I am 99.9% confident that those boys are smashing their steering wheels out of frustration. That just unfolded. The track is so narrow. Going through the fast S's side by side is what I would say a recipe for disaster. And I think the compromised speed that Schnur and Dave created exiting the hairpin made it so much harder for Neil to find a location and position himself in a spot that would not compromise any line. However, that is not how it unfolded. Dave in the first bullion, still out on track, hasn't gone in the pits at all. That still keeps him in the running, but he has dropped a lot of positions. Dave, on the other hand, is in the pits. Once you go and exit back to pits, that's going to drop down a number of laps for you. I would go by race-ending carnage for the individual. Back in the mix again. So, Benton Smith has managed to get away from the Aston Martin. Aston Martin there by Liam is flashing. Ooh, that's. Oh, that is. Not what was needed at that moment. Just let's go have a look at it and let's judge it by how we as commentators will judge everything else. 40 seconds into the mix there. Helicam, Aston Martin comes down the straight, has vastly more speed than what the Honda has. Now, of course, the Honda should ideally hold position, but then goes on the inside line, breaks it, and doesn't yield completely, thus creating contact with the Aston Martin. Oh, no fairness, I don't think that is a tough one to judge there. In general, Mooney didn't really follow the racing, the expected, I would say the expected racing line scenario. Again, yes, he was the car under blue flag. Ideally, the best probable position for him to execute was to maintain on the racing line, and then yield or go wider so that the car behind him takes the inside line, thus opening it up. But if he, for instance, indicated that he was going to go on off the racing line, then he should have slowed down marginally a lot sooner than what he did there. Tough one, tough break. That has definitely caused Liam a few positions that he did have in the back, because he was trying to catch Ryan Beddington Smith in the Porsche. He has subsequently passed Anthony Wilson, who he now has to catch and do again. Paul Venter, on the other hand, has managed to gain ground on Veronas, who still has a pit stop to do. So seemingly that is some good pace there by Paul Venter at the moment, because Veronas was, I recall, in third place prior to all the pit stops starting. So this is for position. There is absolutely no need for Veronas to just open the door for him. Whether it's pit stop strategies or not, everyone's got to do their own racing. Paul Venter looks like he wants to take it on the inside line, yielded to avoid the whole collision in general. Veronas being very defensive there, ensuring that Paul loses as much time as possible. Of course, that could be strategic because Bauer is in the pits. Bauer has done his pit stop. Out the box he is. Open clean air around the first corner. Paul Venter is only coming around the final corner there. So no real time gained by Paul onto the Honda ahead of him. Paul dives on the inside line. forces the BMW to go on the outside. Now, I don't think Veronas will be that defensive, knowingly know that he does have another pit stop to do. Santos, on the other hand, is again possibly into a podium. So the PWSR boys, after all the shenanigans at the beginning of the race, getting a stop-go 30-second penalty, kept it clean by driver Alan Patterson all the way through, passed it on to his teammate Chris De Santos, who, based on pit stops at the moment, is potentially in for a podium. So again, a phenomenal drive overall by the PWSR boys, executing what I would almost class as a flawless drive, apart from the pit stop hiccup. Again, everything still at play, because we still have Hall here, who, by the looks of things, has also had a phenomenal race. Oh, as I say that, he goes off track. Bit of a misjudgment there. Too much speed into that corner, or exiting from that corner, which is possible. So when these two individuals do pit, it will be quite interesting to see where they filter in. As Verona goes into the pit, late dive there, however. I'm going to keep an eye on De Santos. De Santos is coming down the final back straight though, into the chicane. Big hairpin. Long double right-handers here. Verona's still in the pit box, hasn't moved as of yet. Dacks are down, car is up. There is the PWSR boys. There is Verona's only getting off the line now. That is third position so far. That's 2 points picked up. Phenomenal drive. What a prediction. What an absolute prediction. Might have a bit of a hiccup at the beginning of the race, but then put their heads down and then continue to hold the flag to have a great finishing result. This is what I call good racing. Just in all fairness, this is absolutely great racing. It is never over until that checkered flag goes down. And until that point, you put your head down and race, because anything can happen. Like, look at these guys. And I'll say it again. Started off in, I reckon, 5th position from qualifying standpoint. Went into the pits, overshot the pits, got a stop go 30 seconds, came out of the pits, went all the way to the back of the grid, fought their way forward, making no mistakes from there on, get stuck into it, and then having the opportunity to finish on a podium. That to me is a big win. Well done, PWSR boys. Let's hope you can finish it off very nicely. At the back of the race now we have Mouton versus Gerard Janssen van Vieren, the Bulldog Academy boys, on the LNR Godzilla team. Now this is going to be quite interesting, because that Nissan isn't as quick as that BMW. That Nissan is also far older than that BMW. Yet I do know that Nissan does have some legs going down the straight. This is for 10th place. A position that generally means a lot for most racing drivers is a 10th spot. Capitalized, takes the inside line, easy win there for the Nissan. Again, slight error by Mouton, exiting on that double right-hander. That did compromise his speed. There was absolutely nothing that man could have done to keep that Nissan behind him. Gerard Janssen van Vieren is now in 10th position, about 8 seconds adrift from Liam Smith, who I believe is suffering a bit of aero damage at the moment based on the contact he and Mooney had. I do want to see, does all the incidents are recorded though, but no one is there, so we've got no live stewarding this evening, which is quite interesting. I really did think that there was live stewarding this evening. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incidents recorded for the race, which in fairness is not that bad. I wish I could go and see what that all was. That's on it. So, who came in? Dino said yes. Galen went good like. Michael Stefanak. Now that is a name that I haven't seen in a while. Dude, big ups to you. Hope all is well with yourself. Long time no see. Brandon, some inside info. Muton is in the academy car for LT Racing, coached by Sean L and making good progress. Oh, that's great inside info. So, where is he? Where is Muton? I'm gonna put him on the limelight. Took me a while to go and see that. Muton in the limelight. The man who is being coached at the present moment, making great progress according to Brandon. Man, keep it up. Positive vibes. We will get there. I reckon give yourself a few weeks or so. Lots of focus, lots of effort, and you'll probably outrun a lot of individuals. So, welcome to the Simracing platform. Okay. Where is the battles? Let's go find them. Veronas and Beddington Smith. Ooh, Beddington has lost the position to... No, hasn't lost the position. Beddington is trying to gain the position from Veronas in the BMW in Chasing Beaver. So, Beddington Smith, also a driver at the start of the race, had a bit of bad luck. Subsequently worked very hard to come back. This is putting that BMW under severe pressure. Covering the inside line, outside line as best as he can. Porsche looks hungry. Of course, the Porsche will be far more superior in the corner sections as opposed to the BMW. BMW will have straight line speed in the straight, but in any corners, I strongly believe that this will be an interesting development. Let's just see how this evolves. 4 minutes of the racing left. Ooh, deep entry there by the BMW. Porsche went on the inside line, had to yield because that was close to creating a contact. Schnur and Wilson battling it out now. Of course, this gap is also very close. Let's just see how this evolves down the straight. Porsche has got a good exit. BMW goes defensive, takes the inside line. Will Beddington Smith send it? No, he will not. You can see the frustration in that Porsche, even climbing onto the curbs to gain an advantage as best as he can. Veronas just needs to keep a cool, calm head and try and keep that Porsche behind him, which I reckon is very, very possible. Just maintain your racing line, racing position. Focus on what is ahead of you. Don't do what I do and get distracted by what is behind you. That's just a terrible thing of me. For some other weird reason, even though I come back from sim racing, took a good break from sim racing in general, but now that I'm back, I just don't know what I do. Every time I see a car on my rear end, whether it's a slower car than me or whatever the case may be, I struggle to keep focus. Side by side, these two guys go. Porsche is going to have the capital, well, the best advantage into the chicane. Great racing. Lost everything that I wanted to say. That is 4th place for Barrington Smith. I don't think this is finished yet. But as said, BMW will have the straight line speed. Porsche will certainly be far quicker than anything else. Ooh, penalties being dished out at the moment. I reckon whatever was recorded from a penalty point of view was all racing incident. More challenges here. Fu Mortone, the man that is being coached at the moment, he is under severe pressure by Neil Bullion, who was in a collision with Dave Young not so long ago. Does Mortone go defensive? Not really. That kind of makes me aware that he believes he's got the straight line speed though. Opens the door up for the McLaren to take the inside line. Does the McLaren do so? No. He's got to stay face. Keep on the racing line. Defend every corner. Cannot allow a car to see a gap. This is where it gets challenging. You have to close your entry and your exits off as best as you can. An inch of a gap will open the eyes of the driver behind you, and he will believe that he has the opportunity to take that position. Final few corners. Can Mouton defend this off? Slight error. Goes defensive. Takes the inside line. Forces the McLaren to go wide. Great defensive driving there. McLaren has the speed. BMW doesn't allow him to go. Ooh, and he outbrakes himself. No. Oh, what a small error. A slap on the wheel is what it needs. Ooh, sorry. Race has followed finish. So Power has finished the race. Paul Venter will be coming through into 2nd place. Again, big ups to this man that has won the race. I'm so sorry that I didn't see your race finish there. Paul Venter coming through in 2nd place. Great drive by him. And then of course Chris DeSantos still making his way through for 3rd place. A drive from the word go for the ISR boys. Great dive by Bauer, and then of course the race start Henry Meyer in the pink Honda. Phenomenal drive, absolutely phenomenal. They were just untouchable this evening. Chris DeSantos with Alan Patterson in the PSWR team had a bit of a hiccup in the beginning of the races, and they come through taking the final podium. Ryan Barrington Smith takes 4th position, followed by the Chasing Beavers team in the BMW, and then of course Dylan Hall. Great drive from this team, Chic SA, smashing it off this evening in 6th position, out racing Charles Schnur and Duplessis, who were in a lot of great racing scenarios, defended phenomenally very hard. Skitter in 8th, and then of course the Campbell Smith in 9th place. I reckon that was absolutely phenomenal. A really great race. So let's go to timetables, qualifying to race. This is your final grid for this evening at Zandvoort. Next week we are going to where are we going next week? I did say where we were going next week, and now I've completely forgotten. Next week, same time, same place, race 5 at Kota, which I don't believe is anyone's favorite track, followed by Barcelona, which I also don't believe is anyone's favorite track. But nonetheless, it is going to be eventful. I hope everyone that was on the stream enjoyed it. I will definitely catch you next week. To all the sim racers out there, fabulous drive, great racing there by Bauer and Meyer, followed by Paul Venter, and of course Stratum, who's not in the mix, Alan Patterson and Chris Santos from BWSR coming in third place. And then of course you've got Barrington Smith, Veronis and Nel, Olin van Zyl, Snoer and Duplessis, Wilson and Skitter, Lee and Campbell, Napoleon, Dupree, and closing it off in 10th place. This was absolutely fantastic. Probably not the most exciting races. Quite a few passing maneuvers at the end of the race. But again, I think phenomenally great drive overall by all the boys. To everyone out there, good luck, good night, have a great week. Until next week, God bless, good night, thank you all, goodbye.